their traffic. That is, they agreed to split the traffic off the Union Pacific 1/3 each. Well, collusive arrangements like that, or cartels as economists call them, result in an attraction of investment to the industry. The monopoly gain that cartels generate attract investment to the industry. So what started out as 3 railroads between Chicago and Omaha wound up as 7. Well, these included the Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul, which was sort of classic example of the consequences of the system. There was this lightly traveled, or lightly trafficked rather, railroad, which ran essentially only the places that other railroads ran. The traffic density was so low that they were almost entirely dependent on the city of Milwaukee. The railroad was very well named. Even this really wasn't the worst example. I mean, the worst example really was the latest one that got into this market, the Chicago Great Western. Here was a railroad that ran only the places where other and earlier railroads ran. It was centered on the small town of Olwine, Iowa. John Barriger characterized it as a prairie railroad with mountain grades in a traffic vacuum. Now, this resulted in Iowa, in particular, having was grossly excessive mileage. These railroads had an incentive to build branch lines. Remember, we are talking about the best agricultural land in the world. The collusive pricing and the pooling rather, did not apply to stuff that they originated themselves, just to stuff they got from other railroads. So they had an incentive to originate as much as they could themselves. So they built branch lines all over the place. You couldn't get 12 miles away from a railroad in the state of Iowa. Well, this meant that you just had to have massive disinvestment, which of course you do. The Milwaukee Road was hacked down and sold to the Canadian Pacific Empire, essentially, so only a bare network of main lines survived. The Rock Island, which essentially did only what the Burlington did better with a better physical plant, Rock Island was essentially shut down, reduced to some local origination and termination facilities. The Chicago and Northwestern bought up a lot of mileage, including the Chicago Great Western, has abandoned most of it. Since the Union Pacific has now taken over the Northwestern, it will abandon a very great deal more. So you've had a lot of abandonment, which as enthusiasts we may find emotionally repellent. I mean, we'd still like to go out to Olwine to take pictures of the Chicago Great Western, or at least I would, but we have to face it that the mileage was so grossly excessive in the high-powered agricultural areas that you just had to have a withdrawal of some firms and very considerable abandonment of mileage.
To the people of the prairie in the late 1800s and early 20th century, the railroads were a major factor in their lives. The trains allowed mobility. They brought in manufactured goods. They took the produce of the farms to market. Even though they fought the railroad's excesses through their grange lodges, these sprawling lines had a heavy influence on their comings and goings. So their songs reflected their closeness to the trains. Songs of every description, their hopes, their dreams, their joy, their sadness.
No matter what I say or do, you're never satisfied. I've tried and tried so many times, well, I'm leaving
Prairie Rails. Call 1-800-783-3886 to order the DVD or VHS tape. Just $39.95 plus shipping and handling.
I'm riding on that midnight train, my head is hanging low. These awful blues will follow me wherever I may go.
See our website for more great programs, from the Glory Machine series with historic footage to in-depth coverage of the Pennsylvania Railroad, New York Central, Norfolk and Western, B&O, Illinois Central, L&N, Nickel Plate, New England, Western Railroads, more Western Railroads, Chicago Railroads, and fabulous documentaries of the California Zephyr, Super Chief, SP Daylights, Steamboats, Delta Queen, American Queen, and more. All available on DVD or VHS. Log on to heronrail.com for details and ordering information.
If you wear